Today's date is August 21st, 2014. And there are certain things I'd like to share with you right now about the fact that you are an investor, whether you want to be or not. Okay, well, first of all, I'd like to dedicate this to all our children, the young and those who are adults now. My father taught me when I was quite young in simple language about financial matters, about investing, about how to use money, about how to be responsible in that use. Responsibility was the word that he had, and I deeply appreciate that. And all the ideas he gave me when I was at a young age. It prevailed. His values are worthwhile even now, and they've been a useful guidepost to me in all my financial matters and all my investing ever since then. I hope and pray that these ideas will be helpful to start you on a life of prosperity. Investing. You are an investor by how and by what you do with the money you have. I mentioned that everyone invests, and by not investing, you are investing in a negative way. You are losing money you could make. Now, my father was very strong on morality, on always being honest and always being responsible. There's nothing wrong with having money. It's what we do with it. It's what our attitude is. Are we getting it honestly through hard work, through the hard work of saving? Or are we cheating? Are we lying? Are we stealing? There are many ways we can cheat, lie, and steal other than robbing a bank. So it's what you do. And the moral aspects, the moral outcome trumps financial outcome. Never go for the money and neglect the moral aspect. And that is key. You could sleep at night. You're happy. You feel good about what you have accomplished. You do know that everything we have is a gift from God. We can use it responsibly, or we can blow it, as people say. Money is a value. First of all, my father was very strong-minded about the value of money and the fact that it's a gift from God. What we have and the great responsibility of using it in a way that we're not, as the Bible says, we're not burying our talents in the ground. And then, as the story goes, when the king returns, saying to him, "Well, I knew you were severe, so I just buried it." We're going to use money for our good and the good of others. My father was very strong on giving to charity, and he said, no one needs to live luxuriously, but we all need to live well enough that we never have to compromise our principles. Some people do that just simply because they need to have some sort of financial background to raise their family. They stay in jobs that they're not happy with. They're not happy with the ethics of perhaps their boss or the company they work for. So that independence to be morally responsible is tremendously important. After all, money is a good, it's not a bad. And wanting to make money is a significant good because we're doing it for ourselves, for our families, so we're not dependent on others, not a drain on others. Which, you know, Many times people don't even think about this. And I cannot say where I would be myself without my wise father. He started with saving because all of us are money managers. We are investors. It could be in a negative way because we throw it away needlessly, or it could be in a positive way in knowing how to use money for the betterment of ourselves, our families, our communities, our church, or whatever our charities are. So that's tremendously important, I think. And he taught me that. He would stress savings no matter how much money you have or you make. Even as a child, we would receive money, say at Christmas or on a birthday or something like that. And he would say, save that. Don't waste it. Don't run to the store to buy candy, which was very appealing when we were little. Save it for the future, for your education, for whatever your needs may be. You never know. You have to have enough money to be a cushion in the case of the unforeseen, say medical problems or many other things that could happen. You could have your house catch on fire, so you need that cushion to be able to sustain yourself. So it's the old phrase, save your pennies and they will turn into dollars. We don't think of saving pennies anymore, yet that's the basic idea. If we put aside $1 a day for 365 days at the end of the year, we have $365, obviously. And we could do many things with that. We could buy a government bond. It would double in the time that it needed to double, 10, 20 years. And if you're willing to wait for whatever the time frame is, you'll double your money. If you did that every year, starting as a very young child, think how much you'd have by the time you wanted to go to college, by the time you wanted to buy your own home, when you wanted to take a loan to start a business venture, or whatever your reason would be. Saving is necessary. This is tremendously important, as I have said. It's not how much money you make, it's how much you can save. And the chores around the house, if you're paid for that, or if you're working for neighbors, for instance, cutting grass, babysitting, whatever, put that money aside. Because as a child, your parents are providing for you. You know you don't need to spend it. Learning to forgo the little luxuries, which as a child could be buying candy bars, jewelry, games that you wanted to have. If you're careful about how you do that, your money will multiply and multiply. When you're older, you learn how to invest, and of course, my father taught me about that. About buying bonds, buying stocks, and going into the market even as a child if you only have a little bit of money. For example, you could buy 1 share of a good company. You could buy later on maybe 10 shares, maybe 100, maybe 1,000 eventually. There's so many ways we could save. Right now, I think we tend to eat out a great deal, and we think, oh, well, that's so much easier. I'm saving time. I'm tired at the end of the day from working. But if you could be more careful about this, then you could save an amount of money every single day. You know, if you only save $10 a day, and once in a while have a special dinner out, maybe you'd have around $3,000 extra at the end of the year. This is the way money can grow. You have to have a goal in mind. know how to manage the money, and what to do with it. Because another thing my father taught me was it takes money to make money. And just briefly, an important reason to make every effort to save money is because it takes money to make money. Why? There are many, many reasons. One is to be positioned to buy into a good investment. When the opportunity is there, you better have the money to invest. Often, if you have the money to buy something early, you are able to get a discount. Another reason is if you have the money available to negotiate a business deal, you can bargain for less than if you didn't have the money. Or if you bought something, if you can buy it with money first, you will get a discount rather than if you pay it later or pay it sequentially. Your values. So you need to earn enough to live well. As I've said, never live luxuriously. What about extra possessions? If you're not using them, why have them? Now you might have a thing of beauty or great meaning for you that you would love in your home. Maybe it's a beautiful vase, a beautiful picture, something like that. And maybe you spend quite a bit for it. But for you it's important because it's a source of beauty perhaps. Also, maybe it has great meaning in your life because it belonged to an ancestor of yours. Maybe it's a photograph of a home where you lived when you were a child. Something like that. Okay, that could have great value for you. I'm not against that, and neither was my father. Having beautiful things can be a joy. But we don't need cluttering our house with many, many beautiful things. Just a few really count. And so, as I've said over and over again, it's what you do with the money you have, how you use it. And it's terribly important that you always give to charity. To have this certain amount set aside that you're going to give no matter what. Now, I mentioned before, save a penny, make a penny. Save $1, make $1. Anything saved is, in a sense, something you have earned. Now, you notice I'm not using any financial language, and I'm not doing this because I'm writing it for you when you're young. It's a primer. This is the very beginning. It's to be used when you're young. This is not beyond you. You can learn math, you can learn science. Those are necessary. You also can use how to use money, how to be economic. Now, here's another example. My father was strong on buying quality because it will last. He said it was a waste to buy a cheap pair of shoes that are going to fall apart. Buy a sturdy pair of shoes or a pair that will last because they're good. And you're really in the long term saving money because your money is doing double duty. You're not buying lots of things that will fall apart. You have to save your money so you can do that, so that you can buy quality items because they cost more. Quality items, no matter what they are, furniture, clothing, shoes, you're far better waiting to buy, saving your money, and then buy something that is quality and will be a source of utility, of beauty, and of joy for you. It will be something you enjoy having, and it will last. You're not repeating purchases that are unnecessary because you're buying cheap things that will not last and will not be a source of joy for you. They're unnecessary, and you know that. Oh, we just bought this because we wanted to have a table and chairs. Don't ever do that. Wait. You can wait and then buy what you really would like to have for the rest of your life, if you choose. You'll be using and enjoying whatever the items are. Your goals. You have to have goals. My father was strong on that. The unexamined life really isn't worth living. You have to have goals for yourself, for your whole life, in every aspect. So when we're talking about money and finances, set so much aside weekly, monthly. Start young so you're sure that you're in the habit and that you always have enough money. Your health. Now here's another investment, your health. Surprise! Many people take better care of their automobiles than they do their bodies. I'm not saying expensive money spent to enhance your body. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about being healthy. Get enough sleep, eat enough, go around with people that are an inspiration to you, that you enjoy. Don't be dragged down by bad companions. I'm talking about all of that. It's all part of what I'm trying to tell you. It's all part of how we live our lives and how we spend our money. Because if we're going to go around with a group that are sitting around drinking and smoking all the time, you're not going to be as healthy as if you go around with a group that want to have fun, want to learn all the time, want to grow personally, want you to grow and be the best person you can be. That's healthy. And you won't waste a lot of money on medical expenses for problems that you'll have physically that you wouldn't have if you took care of yourself. Most of the time, your parents are a very good guideline on that before you're an adult and on your own and able to make your own wise decisions. The patterns you start now influence the rest of your life. This might seem distant from investing, but it isn't. So many people waste money on unhealthy activities, unhealthy food, unhealthy lifestyles. You're throwing your money away. And not only that, you're hurting yourself. And it could be expensive long term for the medical help that would be required. Recreation. Entertaining. You know you can have a great time getting together in a simple way. You can have a cup of coffee or tea together in a good conversation. You can have a drink together in a simple way. You know, in your home perhaps, or out on your patio, wherever. Instead of going to the most expensive restaurant or bar in town and spending your money there. Now maybe once a year on your anniversary, you might want to do that on your birthday or whatever. Go to that expensive place. It will be memorable. I'm not saying don't go to that marvelous restaurant or bar. I'm just simply saying that when you do go, let it have great meaning for you so that it's a memorable event, not just something you do every week to hang out with people. Recreation can be something you do on your own, like taking a walk, to enjoy the quiet, to think, or to just relax. Anything that refreshes you. It does not need to cost a large amount of money. It does not need to cost anything. Significant occasions. We spend money on a lot of things in our lives that are important. Now, I'm just going to pick one. A wedding. Okay, you could have a beautiful wedding without spending thousands and thousands of dollars. Now, I'm not saying that might not be worthwhile for certain people. If you're worth 10 million and you spend 20,000 or more on a wedding, well, percentage-wise, you're not spending much. But I'm talking about us, people like us. We don't have the money to do that. And the main thing in a wedding is the spiritual aspect of the wedding. You don't have to have the most expensive dress for the bride. You don't have to go to the most expensive place. You can have a beautiful wedding in a very simple way, and it can make a great difference in your life. That applies also across the board to graduations, to how you celebrate many things in life. It's the meaning of what you celebrate, not what you spend on it. Unless you have the money to do it, and you know you can, and it's not going to put your financial life in a great imbalance. Here again, I'm not against it. I'm just against any totally unnecessary expenditures. You could figure it out by taking your total worth, your income, and then take a percentage for, as you know, gifts to people and so forth. Loving our children. What we do for children is significant. As parents, because we love our children, we often think a way to show our love is to spend a lot of money on them. This is not necessary. And we're teaching them not to know how to spend money if we do that. Then they think that's the way to behave. But if we're careful and think what would be meaningful for them, it does not have to be very expensive. One example, if your child's an artist, maybe paper, canvas, paints, pencils, things like that would be a wonderful gift for them. Don't get them big, expensive items that really are unnecessary. So there are both little ways and big ways to do this. Remember, time spent with them is maybe the most important thing. Having fun with them, being with them. Now, I mentioned before about buying a bond maybe when a baby is born. Instead of just buying a newborn baby, say an expensive set of baby furniture, buy a bond, and in whatever 10, 20 years it will have doubled. So that child will have a nest egg by then. We get dividends, too, from investments that we purchase. Reinvest those until you really need to take them out. Vacations. I mentioned before about dinner home and dinner out. How about vacation style? You can have a wonderful vacation without spending a great deal of money. Some people vacation at home once in a while. We've done that. It works. It really does. Or where you go. You want to go to a nice place, of course, with your family or with your friends, but you can adjust that. It doesn't have to be the most luxurious vacation resort that you can find, and you can save money as far as distance is concerned. Travel time, money spent. Closer can be a saving in money, in time, and in effort. There are deals for travel all the time also. Purchases. Okay, here's another one. Buy items on sale. Why would we spend all that money unless it was an absolutely needed expenditure at a given time that you had to do? But everything goes on sale at certain times of the year. I remember as a young bride writing down the sales that would happen annually. For example, the white sales for linens and towels every January and July. You can wait maybe a few months to buy what you need, even if the ones you have are getting well worn. Then buy them at a discount. See, it's a way of thinking, a way of living. Money saved is money earned, and then you're constantly accumulating more money, no matter how small it is, to invest for you and to make more money. It adds up. There are so many ways we can invest. Oh my goodness. Well, there are seasonal bargains on everything. You know, buy bathing suits after the 4th of July. Now, when you're purchasing a home, maybe your first home, if you know your goals, know where you want to live, have a good idea what you want, have a good idea of what you think you need to spend. If you can, rent for a while and not rush out and buy. Maybe wait until a home is a bargain in an area that you want, and it's the home you want also. Either the way it is or the way you can change it. I mean, that's a wonderful way to save large amounts of money. So look for the seasonal bargains. Know the calendar rotations. Work. Who works outside the home? Both of you? One of you? So many people are now switching to home office and then going in just once in a while. And of course, you have the ability for television board meetings with people all over the world now. You don't have to spend money traveling to a given place, even though it sounds enticing to go to Hawaii or Switzerland or some other exotic place. However, you can save an enormous amount of money by doing it this way. Teleconferences on television, phone conferences on the phone. You could have your board meetings and do it that way with the technology available right now. Technology has opened up so many facets to save time, to save money, and technology continues to improve these great possibilities. Time. Here's another one of my father's. Time is money. Think about it. Time is money. Our time is worth something. How we spend our time is worth something. We can waste our time, or we can make it profitable. Profitable spiritually, mentally, psychologically, intellectually, financially. The list is long. I'm sure you can figure this out. Debt. So we can control debt also. Now, for example, buying an automobile brand new, it depreciates the moment it leaves the lot. Get a good used car, and you're saving an enormous amount of money. Buy it in installments, lease it, buy it up front, whatever works financially best for you. How you buy that automobile is very, very important. I already mentioned the house you buy. That's important. Do you get a mortgage? You can deduct your mortgage payments on taxes. You've got to think about taxes. I didn't even go into that. You have to think of tax consequences. If you can defer earnings in a way that you balance the year out so you're below a certain tax increase income, definitely do that. You have to think with anything like that about the tax consequences. Here again, I'm not omniscient. I rely on an accountant for that, and I think that's a good idea. What you can't do yourself, Get someone to do for you, someone you trust. Education, tuition, sending your child to college. Where do you send your child to college? Is your child eligible for a scholarship? Okay, if you want to continue your education, can you get a scholarship? You know, look at the differences in tuition from various colleges. Is the most expensive one really the best for you or for your son or daughter? Here again, this requires work, but it's well done. It's having goals and thinking them out. When you buy, purchase what appreciates. Property appreciates. Real estate appreciates. These are great investments because they gain in value as time goes by. And you have to be educated about this. I can give you many stories of this. And I'm sure I don't have to do this. You know this yourself. You know that always is a good investment. And here again, you have to save your money until you have enough to send your child to college, increase your education yourself, buy property, buy real estate, whatever it is. Investments. Stocks, small cap, large cap. Basically, what I'm saying is cheap per share or expensive per share. And here again, you have to look at the company and figure out what would be best. You have to look at the sector, the group, whether it's utilities, real estate, banking, or many various categories that you have for stocks. And you have to try to get an idea of the time in which you're investing. For example, tech stocks, technology. Sometimes don't buy them, and other times they're a great investment. There's so many stocks available. I like to look at the directors, who they are, not just at the profit and loss statements, not just the prospectus you get, which is their sheet of paper about the company, letting you know what the company does and how it does it. But look who the directors are. What is their marketing background? What is their track record financially? What have they done in the past that gives you an idea of how they think? Of course, it's always easier to buy stock where you know the people who are involved locally. Here in Cincinnati, it could be P&G. You know so many people who are located here. This gives us a good background on how they think, the type of people they are, and what they would do. And here again, if you look at the policies of the company and you don't like what they're doing, for you they're shady, or they're looking at short-term profit and not long-term perspective, well, maybe that's not a good investment if they're only looking at short-term profit. Make our money now, because long-term there are going to be repercussions with that type of outlook. You're better with a company that's focused on long-term growth if you want to hold the stock for the long term. You know, solid policies, solid growth. Here again, you have to do your homework on these things, but it's well worth it, believe me, because it's so important what you do with your money. If you want a quick gain, you might go for the company that's going up in a fast way. But then again, you have to know when to sell. And timing in the market is not an easy thing to do, and it's never foolproof. My daughter started to work for a company here in Cincinnati, Cintas. When she started to work, they gave her a sheet of paper which every employee had to sign, that they would be morally responsible, that they would be honest in their dealings, in their reportings, and so forth. I was so impressed that I went out and bought some Cintas stock because I figured that anybody with that outlook, perspective, and company policy would be prosperous long term. And then another time I had stock that I learned the company was doing things in third world areas that I did not approve of. I'm not mentioning their name because I think they've changed their policies, but I still haven't repurchased the stock. I wanted to sell it, and my account executive said, "Oh no, that's your best stock." I had a little argument with him. This went on for a period of time. Anyway, I finally sold it. Then about 8 months later, he called me up and said, "How did you know to sell that stock?" Turned out I sold it at its highest point, and it's been going down ever since then, according to him. And it was because of their policies that I didn't think were morally correct. When I told him, he was amazed. So I found that very, very useful. I've mentioned bonds. Now there's a time to buy bonds and there's a time to buy stock. Oh, one person told me one time that 2 years before an election buy stocks, 2 years after the election buy bonds. There are all these little thoughts about how to invest and when is the best time to do it. It depends sometimes on when there's a low interest rate or if there's a high interest rate. I won't go into that too deeply, but I think you know what I'm talking about. But mainly, you want to have your money grow for you. Assets. You've got to have some ready cash for those emergencies or options that come up for you in your life. You really should have 6 months ready cash. Sometimes you need more ready cash than at another time. So you need this cash for all problems that could arise. It could be job loss. It could be illness. It could be required leave, taxes, insurance. Now we come to the rule of 72. Sally Alspaugh is with me, and I'm going to let her explain that.
Well, the rule of 72 is a mathematical concept. No one owns this concept. It's just math. If you have a 10-year time horizon and you want your money to double, you divide 10 into 72. So you would need to invest your asset at a 7.2% rate in order to have it double in 10 years. That's called compound interest. That's sometimes hard to do. Most times it's hard to do, but you need to know the math. Let's take interest rates. The payment of interest is the complete opposite of the earning of interest. It's tricky that the same word is used both ways. A lot of credit cards have an 18% interest rate. Let's say you can invest at 18%. That's crazy, really, but mathematically speaking, 18 divided into 72 is 4. So if you could make 18% on your money would double in 4 years. Woohoo! Unfortunately, that's not practical, but the math is there. So if you're paying 18% in interest, you're going to pay twice the amount for the purchase of your item over 4 years. It's working against you. It's so important to grasp this concept. So that's what's called the rule of 72, and I hope this helps.
Mm-hmm. Diversify. My father was big on this one. Never forget it. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. Never put all your eggs in one basket. Something will come along at some time in your life, whether it's the perfect house that you've always wanted to buy, whether it's a wonderful investment that you know is going to double and triple. Do not put more money into this than you can afford to lose. Absolutely, this is one of the most important things I can say. I know people, and you might know people, who are so knowledgeable financially. They know far more than I know, or than you know, but they get lured into that because it sounds so good or because it looks like it's the one grand opportunity. It takes discipline to say, no, I'm not going to put any more of my money into that than I can afford to lose, no matter how much I want to do this. This brings us to another basic thing, diversify. We have to diversify. I mentioned sectors in the economy like real estate, retail, all the various sectors that there are for investment. Diversify. Have a little of each. This is called asset allocation. You only put a certain amount in each sector. Only put a certain amount again in each stock or bond or investment. And I might mention, I always take 3% to play around with. You know, buy a wild idea. It might go under totally. So what? And believe it or not, sometimes they come through and you do make money. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Finally, always a long-term view. You've got to keep looking at the horizon. Got to keep a long-term view. Start now, today, this minute. Start thinking it over in your mind right now. Your goals, what you want, what your perspective is of what will happen in the future. This is something you have to keep doing. You have to seize the times. There is an ebb and flow of what's profitable at one time and what would be totally unprofitable at another time. You have to seize that time. Know the ebb and flow. Research everything. Okay. I always look at the price-earnings ratio. I think that's important. I've already mentioned how I look at board members and how I always read the prospectus of the company. This is a bit tedious, but terribly important. Remember, it's your hard-earned money. And if you've inherited it, it's your father's or your mother's hard-earned money, or your grandfather's or your grandmother's, or all of them. And I've mentioned before, and I'll just recapitulate, that it's what you do with your money, how you spend it, how you save it. Taxes, you always have to factor in. They say there's always two things that are for sure, death and taxes. And Sally already mentioned interest. All of these are so important, whether you're making the interest or you're paying the interest, which is a debt. And we mentioned giving. So you've got to save for what's important. You decide what's important. Education, your home, enough money for your health, entertainment, you decide. I always check what seems to be the best investments, like A-plus stocks or AAA bonds. I don't fool around with things that are not rated high, except for that 3%, which I mentioned, that flyer. When my children were young, I used to work from midnight till 2 or 3 in the morning. I'd set my alarm, and in the peace and quiet, I could get so much more done than I could during the day. You work out your schedule, how you can do it. But I'm saying no matter how involved you are, there's always a way you can do it. It's if you want to do it. That's what counts. And so I guess that finishes up for now. Please realize that if you don't do this yourself for many good reasons, then hire someone to do it for you. Remember, it helps to be knowledgeable basically, so you can comprehend what they are doing for you. Good luck, God bless you, and I hope you are very prosperous. I hope so.